Hello there. Today we're going to solve equations, and the first thing we need to understand about equations is what they are. So what an equation is it's two separate expressions that are set equal to each other. So essentially what this says is 5x minus 9 is equal to 16, which means that this number right here, though it doesn't look like it, is just the number 16. And so we're going to figure out a way in order to see what our variable is equal to in order to make this side be equal to 16. Now, I use the word variable. Variable is just a symbol that represents an unknown number. So though this looks like a letter, it is in fact a number. We just don't know what it is yet, but we will find out by the end of this tutorial. Uh, the 5 acts as a coefficient. The coefficient is just the numerical factor of a term that contains a variable. So all this says is that we have 5 x's. Some of you might have more, but for this math problem, you have 5 x's. Okay, and then the negative 9 or the minus 9 and the 16 are constants, and constants are just numbers. And constants can only be combined with other constants. You can never mix a constant with a variable. All right, let's get to solving this problem here. Now, the way I'm going to solve it isn't the only correct way, but it's the way that I do it, and I feel like it makes the steps a little easier. Um, Now, if you solve it a different way, that's fine, but keep your steps consistent because the more consistent you are, the more likely you are to get the problem correct. So the goal of solving an equation is to isolate the variable. So we want to get that bad boy all by itself. And in order to do that, the first thing we need to do is get rid of the constant that's bothering the variable because we have two different constants, right? But getting rid of the 16 over here doesn't help us. We want to get rid of the one that's bothering the variable, which is this negative 9. In order to balance it out, we must add 9 to this side because if you're subtracting 9 and you add 9, you can see, like watch on a number line, start at 0, subtract 9, and then go back 9, and you're at the same place at 0. So it doesn't affect this at all. But when we do it to one side of the equation, we have to do it to the other side of the equation because the equations like to be balanced. So we add 9 to both sides, and that is the correct step. So on this side, we're left with 5x, which we still have the x, is equal to 16 plus 9 is 25. Okay. Now we just have a variable with a coefficient, and that coefficient is attached using multiplication. So just like we use the opposite operation up here, when we were subtracting, we added to get rid of it. Here, instead of multiplying, we will divide both sides by 5 in order to get rid of this coefficient. Because what happens here is now we have a fraction of 5 over 5, which is equal to 1 times x. And over here we have 25 divided by 5, which is a nice easy number. So we are now left with x is equal to 5. Now before we move on, or before we end the tutorial, we need to check our work. So we plug in, we say that x equals 5. So now we're going to plug that in over here. 5 times 5 minus 9 is equal to 16. Okay, if we remember, please excuse my dear Aunt Sally, multiplication first. 25 minus 9 is equal to 16, and 25 minus 9 is 16. So 16 equals 16, so we got the correct answer. And those are the basic steps for solving a two-step equation.